Was not
Because
thinking
no,
about it.
exactly, because every team will have pit stop times as part of racing, because it's impossible to police that. I mean, never no pit stop is ever going to be the same. So you just all day going to be running after. Wow, that teammate, his stop was 5/10 slower. That caused him in the end of the race to get over 10. You know, you cannot. So that's why the team will have defined pit stop time as part of racing, just like every other team, and that's what made the situation so difficult.
Thanks for all your questions in on that one, because obviously hot topic. Max Verstappen is the other hot topic. Nico, let's come to you on this one. I mean, as I mentioned at the top, as if we needed reminding of his brilliance, I thought it was case in point this weekend. You think about last year at Monza, all the balance issues they had, the lack of the straight line speed. And then again, he just works his way in with a skinny rear wing, but not the skinniest rear wing in F1, in FP1, FP2, and FP3. Then flips it, doesn't he, to this really skinny wing, which is more difficult to drive. It means he's slower in the corners, but he just goes right, bang it on, and was brilliant. I mean, 20 seconds ahead of the rest. What did you learn that you didn't know already about Max Verstappen this weekend?
So Max Verstappen, top 5 driver of all time in the history of our sport, and he keeps on showing that, which is amazing. And my list is Hamilton, Verstappen, Senna, Fangio, and that's it, right? Schumacher.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the list. It starts to get a pretty easy list, where most people will agree with that, I think. And his car wasn't the best car this weekend. I'm pretty sure of that. What I learned about Max Verstappen is that he's also now becoming, or has been, I don't know, so smart on that he actually does such fundamental setup decision. That's also a new facet which I hadn't seen so often yet, and that's impressive, because that's probably one of the key ingredients to the win this weekend, was his determination to push through his view on the setup, which was, we need to take more wing off. And, you know, rear wing, the simulation tells you where the optimum wing is. So the simulation, and all engineers follow simulation. So the whole engineers will see the simulation saying, no, Max, you need to run more wing than that. And Max is like, no, I want less wing than that. And he got his way, and he puts it on pole with a magical lap, or 2 magical laps. I mean, it's just unbelievable, just perfection. And then dominates the race with speed, you know, which is really awesome. It's not 20 seconds like you say, Simon, because McLaren were rolling the dice and took a really horrible strategy in terms of fastest way to get from A to B. It was around 6, or what was it there before?
It's a quicker car, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 5-6 seconds or what between Verstappen and the McLarens, but still, nevertheless, you know, it's just an awesome pace that he showed there in the race. So incredible.
Just to come back to you, Nico, because I remember, where was it that you were talking about where you could really see which race?
Oh, it was Barcelona, where I was watching him from the outside.
You were just watching him and just controlling the rear of the car and saying it's absolutely peerless. You know, you've got to do that with the long radius corner like parabolic. He's got to be able, doesn't he, to be able to not trash his tires as well. And he managed to, he got some blistering, but it was still, as you said, the quickest car, even though it was sliding around more in the corners.
I would say the quickest driver, not the quickest car. I think he really did a phenomenal job, and he's just driving that. He has that tiny edge on everybody else. It's just he's that extra sensitivity, extra speed of reacting, just to like balance that car magically, just on that tiny edge, is just incredible.
Is the other thing to coincide with this, that, and you mentioned it, Nico, about Max pushing Red Bull in a set-up direction to combat that skinny rear wing. He asked for more front end. Now we know Max can live with that, you know, a really responsive front end, and I'll deal with the rear. And he found a way to balance it, to make it suit what he can cope with and what he would like as a driver. And Red Bull responded, positively towards.
Stella backs up capital yes comments on Verstappen's title chances, as he stresses McLaren drivers cannot afford errors. With Max Verstappen adding to his tally of wins in Azerbaijan, McLaren boss Andrea Stella believes that the Red Bull driver remains a serious contender for the Drivers' Championship. Andrea Stella has reiterated his belief that Max Verstappen is definitely in contention for the driver's title following the Dutchman's back-to-back victories in Monza and Baku, with the McLaren boss admitting that his drivers cannot afford errors as they battle against the four-time world champion. After Verstappen clinched a commanding pole last time out at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Stella answered a firm yes when asked if he believed that the Red Bull driver was a serious contender for the crown. The Italian also emphasizing that his response to the question should be written in capitals. With Verstappen then going on to triumph in Sunday's race at the Baku City Circuit, on a weekend that proved more challenging for McLaren, Stella referred back to his comments as he reflected on the 28-year-old's title prospects. I used the capital letters already. We're talking about Max Verstappen. We're talking about Red Bull, Stella commented after the race, with Verstappen having brought the gap to championship leader Oscar Piastri down to 69 points. We have already seen in Monza that they improved. They seem to have made an improvement with their car because the way they won Monza was something more for what was our assessment than simply a car that adapts well at low drag. They were fast in the corners, medium speed and low speed corners, fast in the straights, and we know that Max, when he has a competitive car, can deliver strong weekends. Conversely, we also knew that Baku, for us, would have been a difficult circuit. So we will see now in Singapore, which should be more of one in which we should perform well. Hopefully we can go back to fighting for victories, and then we will see how the rest of the championship will unfold. But definitely, Max is in the contention for the Drivers' Championship. We knew it, and we got confirmation. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix brought contrasting fortunes for McLaren and Red Bull. On the Papaya squad side, Piastri crashed out of the running on lap 1, while Lando Norris was unable to make ground from P7. Over at Red Bull, Yuki Tsunoda brought home his strongest result of the season so far by taking P6, adding to the team's points haul alongside Verstappen's victory. Pushed on how important it was for his drivers and the team to avoid errors, should Red Bull continue to pose more of a challenge? Stella responded, "When you race in Formula One, when you race at the top of Formula One, and like I said before, the competition is so tight, simply you cannot afford errors in any case, because there will be your contenders that are ready to take advantage." And this before might have been Mercedes, like in Canada, Max, like at the start of the season. We don't have to forget that Red Bull won the 2 races at the start of the season, in Suzuka and Imola. And then, if anything, they kind of slipped back in terms of performance. And now they seem like they found their way back. But they were in contention for victories already at the start of the season. For us, considering especially the Drivers' Championship, certainly the margins to error reduce furthermore. But this is always the ethos when you're racing in Formula One. Hopefully some of the inaccuracies and issues have accumulated in this weekend. Because in this weekend, we have to remember that not only we didn't have a fast enough car, but we also had some reliability issues that cost Oscar some time during practice. Therefore, quite a lot to take away for the drivers, but also for the team. Stella backs up capital yes comments on Verstappen's title chances, as he stresses McLaren drivers cannot afford errors.